upon the good people who are our betters, though in the law, they are said to be public servants. Even in the statute, if you read the Tennessee Code annotated, as I sometimes like to do, they are called public servants, right? And that's a phraseology which sometimes it sounds a little odd to me, and I tend not to use it as some noisy types tend to do before the city council. People who come before the city council and lecture the members and speak quite condescendingly to them, not as one would to a father, right? I think when one makes an appeal to city council, it should always be with respect and not lording it over that person as a public servant, right? They are public servants indeed, but I think in making an appeal, especially if one wants to have an audience and one wants to make an impression, one should always recognize that there is a petition being made, and if one wants to get a hearing, one should make one's person appealing to that high office and officer, and make the argument attractive, presenting it from the perspective of the office holder / public servant, because after all, we want that office holder, the city council member or the county commissioner, to agree and see merit in what we have to say. So the law of the right to kill law is what I'm thinking about here, since we have the Tuesday slaying, we have the Tuesday execution, if you will, of another citizen here in our area in Saudi Daisy, Donna Lynn Allen. Donna shot dead late at night on Tuesday in Saudi Daisy. And make sure you go to newgonomics.com, our sponsor, because there you'll find an analysis which is unlike that what you will read anywhere else. You find a lot of milquetoast coverage, of course, in the press in Chattanooga. And I guess I'm an investigative reporter, but I just simply look at what the law says. And since I know how to read law, know how to find cases and put things together without too much sweat, I give a kind of a legal framework on my news. And so newgonomics.com has a great story about, and here's the headline. And I try to write headlines that they're not flashy, they're not eye candy, they're not clickbait. And so therefore I'm not popular. Okay, I accept the fact that I'm not going to ever be popular as a blogger. And I've got my one or two readers, and I'm very happy to have them, because those readers matter, right? Just like you, my listener, are here because you matter, right? It's just you and me every day talking about local economy and the free market. And if you give me 5 minutes, well, I hope that you'll be better off than you were before. The headline at newgonomics.com is officers, and I had to rewrite this a couple of times before I got it, right? And I do update my stories, and I do make corrections. If I have a correction, make sure you let me know, right? You, my listener, either there, you just have to subscribe to that blog, the blogger with the biggest pen, that's me, and let me know. But the headline is officers with plenty of cover kill woman in car trapped in woods. Now, I hope those assembling the facts that way will show you the story about the execution, the death at the hand of courageous Red Bank police officers of Donna Allen Tuesday night. Now, officers with plenty of cover kill woman in car trapped in woods. Now, the three elements of police reform, other than abolition, which I think abolition is ahead. We just have to start getting the right people to think about it, because many of the right people, important people right now, the people who matter, you might say, somehow are defenders of the status quo. They will defend policing per se. Whereas David Toulis, thinking in terms of the free market and constitutional liberties, in my mind, they're already gone, right? They're already kind of usurpers in a role that people haven't realized needs to be vacated properly by a proper vote, right? It just hasn't happened yet. The conditions, the market, the mega trend, if you will, all pointing in the direction of alternatives to policing. And I would say the alternative today, in the short answer, is sheriffing, right? The sheriff is the lawful authority and has the authority to delegate. And in fact, in the statute, he has, and you can find out about this at newgonomics.com. If this is ever a question for you, just say, well, David Toulis has thought about this already, and he is shining a small light in the right direction if we want to think further down that path. Because that's what I do, is suggest things. Officers with plenty of cover kill woman in car trapped in woods. So suddenly the question is, well, why do they have to kill her? She's trapped. She's in a woods, and they've got plenty of cover. So what happened? Of course, we don't have all the answers, and some of what I offer to you is speculation, is imagination, right? Is the rhetoric of the writer narrating something that he hasn't actually seen, right? I've not even seen the spot where her blood went through the car door jamb and darkened a bit of pine grass. I haven't seen that, so I can only surmise, and that's obvious that that's the case, right? If I have facts, I will give you the facts. If I have surmises and reasonings, then that's, you have that as well. But just because someone hasn't seen something firsthand doesn't mean that he cannot extrapolate or triangulate a proposition about how to view that matter, that killing. And I mentioned Donald Allen partly because I read this morning Tennessee versus Garner, a very important case about shooting people in flight. And a burglar who had $10 worth of stolen goods on his person, shot in the back of the head by a Memphis police officer. A case that took 11 years. 11 years for there to be a ruling. Edward Garner, long, of course, his body long decomposed now. This case was from 1985. There's been a subsequent case that made some softening of Garner, but the rule as a whole of these two cases has been bought into the Tennessee statute, and that is the right to kill law, if you want to call it that, and it is the defense. It is the defense. It's called the use of deadly force by a law enforcement officer in Title 39, 11-620. So it's a block of type. If you had 13, if you had 12-point type, it would be half a page. Okay, that's all. It's just about 4 paragraphs. It is 4 paragraphs, four provisions, an A and a B, and then a 1 and a 2. So it's all boiled down. And the question we have is of the Red Bank police officer is this: in what way was her situation, a woman involved in a transportation stop under Title 55? Presumably, the cops acted upon her as if she were a merchant of some kind, a commercial operator, because that's what their presumption legally is, that everybody is in commerce, everybody is involved in for-hire activity. So if you're in a for-hire capacity, then obviously you can be kind of careful about things, right? You're not going to be foolish. You're not going to do anything violent because your business is at stake, right? If you're involved in commerce, you have a business interest to be there. And so that is a legal presumption that the officers had, that she was a businesswoman of some kind on the road late that night. And so they came after her through the commercial statute called Title 55, the double nickel. And guess what? She violated a commercial prohibition on yielding. Somehow we don't know the details, but she failed to yield. Now that means that maybe she could have stepped on the gas when she should have braked with someone pulling in front of her, something like that. She came dangerously close and swerved, perhaps, to someone pulling into the roadway, and that's failure. She didn't yield when she should have yielded. Yielding is when you have a yield, but you charge forward and make someone else skid because you did not yield. Okay, that's what happened. She somehow caused a bit of an upset in some other traveler or motorist's or driver's use of a car or truck, and caused a momentary scene there in an intersection. That's a failure to yield. So that's what she did. But somehow Donna had, and she had a man in the car with her. She had some reason to think that she could not stop. Okay, so she gave gas and took off in her sedan. And of course, the Red Bank police are very upset that a commercial enforcement stop has not gone as planned, and so it gives chase. Its officers give chase, joined by Saudi Daisy, Jeff Gann, the acting chief, I believe, and eventually the sheriff's department, Hamilton County Sheriff Jim Hammond's deputies, involved in a chase. I'm sure the chase went above the speed limit, and there again we have another problem. We're not that's a problem less than subordinate to the killing of this woman in a forest, but it is a problem as well. How is it that someone whose car tag has been seen and no doubt recorded either by pen and pencil, dictation, or a camera, how is it that such a party must be chased at night at high speeds? This is a daring and exciting proposition. But why do we have speed limits? I mean, we have to think about this. Police departments are involved in commercial operations. Why? Because the officers make their living using the roads for hire. They are there in a commercial capacity. They are users of the road. Their gain, of course, is through wages. And one could say that the state does not make a profit and it's not an enterprise making gain on the road, but they are there in a commercial activity. They use the road for their living. One could argue that, but I would probably argue the other way, that the use of the road is incidental to the profession of policing. So they're not actually commercial operators themselves, though they enforce the commercial statute. Now, they have made a chase of Donna, and she's gone up the mountain, Saudi Mountain, and is at the end of Birchwood Road. She's in a dead end. And the headline at Nuganomics.com, I think, tells the story. Officers with plenty of cover kill woman. The fact that they have plenty of cover is brought up by the fact that it is a wooded area. A wooded area with enough gaps among the trees to maneuver a car, which is what Donna was doing. As she saw them closing in, she saw there was nowhere she could go. So she was probably going in circles. And one officer has already gotten out, probably has his gun drawn, and he's hit by the car. Okay, so there is an injury, a tort, and a wrong committed against an officer. He is taken to the hospital, and in fairly short order, he is released and now is on paid vacation if he is, in fact, the one who pulled the trigger of his semi-automatic pistol. And he has cover. The fact that it's a wooded area, that the motorist is trapped, all suggest the lack of power, the lack of authority to kill this person. Now, this is a legal question, but it's also a moral question, right? It's a question of right and wrong. It is a question of, do police generally value the American, right? The American citizen whom they say they're protecting, right? They say they're protecting the citizens of our town, the poor, people who they're defending property rights. They're keeping the roads safe, right? They're making sure that if there's a burglary at the Save-A-Lot, that burglar is found out, that we get his prints. We trace down people who may be trying to fence boxes of peanut butter or boxes of Swiss chocolate or what have you from the Save-A-Lot. And we'll find who did. That's their job is a common enough job. It's a bit of detective work sometimes, and presence, right? Mostly the job is presence and commercial enforcement. There's very little crime solving that's done by police, probably 10, 15, 20%, probably at the most. The rest is just being seen and traffic enforcement, and probably a bit of bluff. There's in a Red Bank, there's Red Bank officers are very concerned that you video them. They want you to video their work because they want to be safe. And they know that when there's a person with a smartphone, they're capturing a traffic stop or capturing something that they're doing. They want to be safe and they want to be recorded. In fact, they have a policy of that because they respect the First Amendment in Red Bank. Or if they don't yet, they will. If we have to encourage them some more, you and I may work on that, right? Since we are giving Red Bank an audit for the year, we're going to audit them this year, and we want their officers to appreciate being recorded because they have no expectation of privacy, and having a record made is always increasing the safety of the encounter. It always increases the safety, and just because that person has a record doesn't mean that the camera now has to be seized. Of course, it means simply that there is a record of an encounter. And believe me, if an ordinary citizen sees a cop getting shot or hit by someone in a transportation stop or some kind of encounter at the corner of a mall or a shopping center, that person is certainly going to step up and say, "Ma'am, I've got evidence that this man attacked our officer." I mean, officers belong to us, right? So we have a protective spirit about them. And a good citizen will certainly make his phone file available to the department if he has actually witnessed an offense against a policeman, right? When policemen have lives too. They have integrity. They have personal dignity, and that has to be respected as well. And if a policeman is hit or slugged or shot at by someone in an encounter, and someone is making a video of that, a very helpful First Amendment respecting video, well, then that person, no doubt, being a good common American, will bring that forth to the city maybe a day or two later. But you don't want to have the old habits of seizing cameras because someone's making a video. That's an old legacy custom of the old days, right? The old days in Red Bank that are passing. Let's hope that they are passing. Now, on the statute about killing people with a right to do so, the right for an officer to kill a person. Oh, you want to call me? Yeah, go ahead. You can call me. Yeah, it's 800-8949. 800-8949. Just give me a ring. 800. Yeah, here it is again. 80. That's 800-8949 on the David Toulis Show. Yeah, that's right, David Toulis. Now, the rule is here in a nutshell. Let me just state it, and maybe if I need to, I'll read the line for you. But in a nutshell, if the officer thinks that the person he's facing with his gun, right? He's got his gun out. The safety is off. His finger is on the guard, meaning he just drops it into the trigger slot and pulls it, and then the bullet goes out. He's got the gun out. He's ready to use it because he fears for his life. Okay, here we have a real situation, fearing for your life. Now, if the officer thinks that the person whom is in front of him will kill him, right, will kill him in the future, then he has an increasing authority to take that person's life, right? His authority increases. There can be less question about his use of the lethal act. Okay, the lethal act comes under less question, less scrutiny if he pulls the trigger. And again, the officer has probable cause to believe the individual to be arrested has committed a felony involving the infliction or threatened infliction of serious bodily injury. So if the person in front of him is someone who has done something that involves serious bodily injury to someone else, right? That would be a murder suspect, perhaps. Think of I can't a name escapes me, so never mind. But think of some defendant in a murder, right? Someone who's a serial rapist. A serial rapist may kill someone to escape, right? He may do that. His crimes are high crimes, right? They're high felonies. They're not misdemeanors. They're high, grievous, so bad that he might kill to flee. And so a person who has done that or threatened that is someone against whom one can aim that pistol and pull the trigger if one feels threatened. Okay, so that's one circumstance. What is who is the person in front of you, the officer? The second qualification of this right to kill, okay, is that the officer has probable cause to believe that the person to be arrested is a threat, poses a threat of serious bodily injury to the officer or to others unless immediately apprehended. So in other words, you have to apprehend this person with death. That is a seizure, right? Death is a seizure, according to Garner, Garner versus Tennessee versus Garner. Death is a seizure. You have the authority to see someone with death, to put life out of that person's body if he is a threat of serious bodily injury. Now, the word threat is a future-looking word. Okay, it looks to the future. Just because the officer was hit by the car, does that mean that there's a threat in the future that the person in the car can and will? We're talking here about Donna. That Donna can and will somehow come back to this officer and kill him, or that Donna Allen can and will and might go out from that scene, go back up the mountain, get back on Highway 111, go down into Saudi Daisy or some other place and go and kill people. Is that likely? Now, those are the questions that the officer has to answer. And of course, it's all in the flash of a second, right? This is all happening on the scene amid great excitement, great noise, much shouting among the officers, lights flashing, a very confusing scene. The beams of the light of that car probably spinning in circles, flashing by, dirt spinning, dust in the air, banging sounds as rock and twigs and other things are dislodged in the rapid movement of the escaping car, right? Is this person likely to kill? Well, no, the person is a misdemeanor at best. She fails to yield, not a mass murder. And then number two, is she likely to kill you? Well, if you got cover, why would you think that? Well, if you got cover, you've got trees all over the place, and she's got limited movement because she's surrounded by trees closing in on her, as it were. It seems to me that we have on our hands an execution of a woman, Donna Lynn Allen, by Red Bank Police Department under the statute.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Road crews have begun work today on Signal Mountain Boulevard to make permanent repairs to an area of U.S. Highway 127 that has shown signs of instability, according to the